We have a lot of organizations in trouble right now. In fact, I think we're all in a little trouble. We watch the news. What do you think it means when somebody says, would you steal horses with that person? At an intuitive level. Do you trust them? It's about trust. Would you go out in the dead of night and trust them to cover your back when things get tense? So then the next question is, and I often use this when I'm working with my clients, is they're bringing up that there's a new player on the team, et cetera, and I'll say, would you steal horses with them? And they'll start to go, well, why would I know that? But the truth is we always know, and we know very quickly. We always know. Think about it. Think about people that you know in this room. And go around in your head. Please don't point. Ask yourself, one at a time, would I steal horses with that person? And know that you would know. You will know the answer to that. And so then the issue goes, who would steal horses with you? And that to me is the bigger question, is would anybody want to steal horses with me? And if not, why not? Much of the behaviors that cause people to trust us or not to trust us are so much a part of us that we don't really understand them. And so what I want to do for you is break it down. Trust is everything, particularly when it comes to tough times and when it comes to power games. So now the issue is, how do I break it down? The first leadership basic is called managing fear. Now, I'm talking about breaking it down to the most fundamental levels. And at whatever level of leadership you operate, first I want to talk to you personally, then I want to raise at the level, how do you use this to help whoever it is that you are responding to? If we are in fear, now I actually planned this. The gentleman in the blue striped shirt, could I ask you to come up for just a moment, please?
We didn't plan this.
We did, I just didn't tell you. I watched him walk in. Somebody said when I walked by, boy, you look so little next to him, and I thought he's perfect for this. So what I want to do is I just want to make a slight demonstration. Some of you may have seen this before, and so I won't overplay it, but here's the thing. Fear is a debilitator of optimal performance. Fear constricts our thinking. Same as anger, same as any very, very intense, distracting emotion. So what I want to do is just ask you, left-handed or right-handed? If you would take your right arm and put it out just like this to the side. And if you could move here so I don't have the podium in the way. I'm going to pull down on that right arm. And you're going to resist me. You're not going to let me get you. All right? So I'm pulling down on the right arm and he's resisting. And we're just finding a benchmark here. Okay? Now, that's our benchmark. But so here's the thing. If you would think, doesn't he look tall? Here's the thing. If you would think of anything that you remember recently that made you angry, and then hold it in your mind, you actually see if you can wiggle back into the moment. Okay? And put your arm back up. Now what I want you to do is I want you to hold that moment in your mind and stay with it and now resist me. Thank you. So what is that all about? It's the distraction of our focus. We have this myth that it's about adrenaline and anger is going to cause us to get stronger. It is the opposite because it distracts our focus. So when you're leaders, when you are angry, you are not at your best. You are not at your best. And I was doing a presentation for a group of fighter pilots in a squadron down in San Antonio not too long ago. These guys all know how cool they are, trust me. But as somebody said to me, and they weren't bad to look at either, were they? And I said, no, they weren't. But in that group, I started with, I said, okay, so I showed them this. That surprised them. They're thinking everything's about testosterone, you know? So they're really surprised by the adrenaline thing. And I said, so let's think about it this way. You guys get ticked off with each other here in the squadron, and they're very vocal about it when they are. I don't know if you know, it's a sort of male, macho group, and so they tell each other off all the time. And I said, then you go out to this jet and you fly wingtip to wingtip at 700 miles an hour, and guess what? You're not at optimal performance. So whose responsibility is it to manage the anger? So managing fear and anger are very, very close. They're very, very close. And fear, excuse me for stepping in front of that, fear will do the same as anger. It will take the person's will, their strength, their focus, their ability to process. As HR professionals, your job has to be thinking about helping managing fear in the organization. And anytime you see a leader who is using fear as a stimulus, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that's your job then to step in. So if they're saying things like, well, if we don't get this solved, we're going to have layoffs. Guess where that sends people? Away from optimal performance. Rhythm, the second on the list here. Rhythm. That's your pacing. Almost everybody I know falls into a category of rusher or over-deliberating when they start to get tense. Okay? When the pressure's on. How many of you are rushers in here? And you know it. How many of you start to deliberate when things get tough? Here's the deal. Those are both symptoms of fear, by the way. When the pressure's on, rushers rush because they're afraid of losing control. They don't want it taken away from them. Deliberators slow down because they don't want to make a mistake. Now, both can be strengths and both can be weaknesses. But what you're watching is if people are going up to the deliberator saying, would you make a decision? Then you probably got an issue. And the same with the rusher. Rework is one of the symptoms of rushing, is that you're redoing the same thing because they just had to do it. And they had to do it because they were afraid of losing control. So keep in mind, if you're a rusher, manage that. If your bosses or the people that you're managing are rushers, manage it. It is our biggest responsibility is to help manage fear. It's the beginning, it's the basis, it's the preparation for good leadership. Is they have to be able to pace themselves and they have to be able to manage their fear.